Hi, I'm Jenny Miller of Let's Get Sewing. Are you ready to take the fear and frustration out of your sewing experience and finally get sewing? Then you're in the right place. Be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any of my tips and tutorials. And check out the caption too. There's a link to my website where you can find out more about my course, Conquer Your Sewing Machine, and future courses that I have coming. And now, let's get sewing. Today we are talking about a step in the sewing process that is super easy and super important. This step is going to make the difference in how your neckline and other openings in the garment fit and how they hang and how they look. This step is called stay stitching. And stay stitching is nothing more than a simple line of stitching around an opening like the neck opening or the sleeve opening that prevents it from stretching out of shape during the sewing process. We're moving pieces of fabric around, we're bending them out of the way to sew seams together, and throughout that process, things can get stretched out of shape. Now, you will most typically see the directions tell you to stay stitch around the neckline. Usually that's about the only one that they have you do. But you can stay stitch around the armscye or the armhole as well, and that will help to keep it in shape and keep it in place. The problem becomes when you stretch that out and then go to insert your sleeve into the armscye, or if you stretch out the neck and go to put a collar or a facing on, the two no longer match up and you end up with issues of either having to ease fabric in or stretch other things out, and then they just don't hang properly and look right. So I want you to imagine this is a small bodice front. It was cut from this tiny little pattern here. This is the neck, this is the armscye. And as you're sewing along, because these are a curve by nature has bias in it, they can get stretched out very easily as things are moved and manipulated. And once they are stretched out, they don't like to go flat again. And so when you try to put them back into shape to match perfectly along the opening that they originally were, you can see that that wants to bow out of place and no longer lie flat against the pattern because it has stretched out of shape. And so if the sleeve is meant to fit this line, but this line has been stretched out, it's not going to fit. Same with the collar or neck facing. So all we do is, before it gets stretched out like that, we sew a seam along the edge within the seam allowance to stabilize it. So let me show you how that is done. In this case, I am stay stitching the waistband or along the waistline of a pair of pants. The reason I'm doing that on this particular pattern was because I was using this rayon, which is soft and stretchy. I'm just sewing a line of stitching inside the seam allowance. In this case, it's a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and so I'm stitching at about 3/8 inch. If you had a 1/2 inch seam allowance, you might want to do it at 1/4 of an inch. That way it's hidden inside the seam. And you want to use a stitch length of about 2.5 to 3 millimeters. So that is all there is to stay stitching. Make sure you do not skip this step when you see it in your pattern directions. And if you're working on a fabric that tends to be a little bit more drapey, a little bit softer, a little more stretchy, go ahead and stay stitch any of those openings that you think may need it. You won't regret it. It can always be removed afterwards, so it's definitely worth putting in just a few extra seconds to get that done. So tell me in the comments if you knew what stay stitching was, if you didn't know what stay stitching was, or if you still have any questions about it. I'm happy to answer them. I try to reply as quickly as possible. So let me know and let's get sewing.